I'm here with my man Brendan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire is in the building. And Brendan, man, thanks for hopping on with me. You know Japanese boxing better than any other writer, videographer, reporter in the United States, having trained with Japanese fighters in the gym, got them
Yep,
ready for a fight, and you are taking some time out of your busy schedule helping Angelo Leo defend his IBF featherweight title next weekend in Atlanta to
yep.
talk about the Japanese Super Bowl of boxing. Naoya Inoue defending the undisputed 122-pound crown against knockout artist Junto Nakatani in Japan's biggest fight ever.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, let me yeah.
It's a huge fight, Sean, and thank you for having me on. I remember last year when we did our initial thoughts on this fight back in like in April last year, and people really loved it. So it's great to be here. Huge fight, huge fight. Junto's coming off a performance where he didn't look his normal dominant self. So there's a lot of questions about Junto going into this fight, but to be fair to Junto, Inoue is not as durable as Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. I think a lot of those combinations that he was lighting Sebastian Hernandez Reyes up with in the early rounds, Inoue probably if Inoue gets hit with those same shots, he probably doesn't stand up as well to those shots. So I think this is an interesting fight, Sean, because I think early on in the first 3 to 4 rounds, if Inoue isn't defensively sound and he is too aggressive for his own good, he could taste the canvas in the first 3 to 4 rounds. But if he if he's able to navigate that, I think Junto's style is a bit more mechanical and predictable than some of the other guys he's been fighting. And I feel like uh, the way it's gonna go, Sean, is basically what I'm saying is either A, both guys are gonna exchange a knockdown in this fight, and someone will get stopped, or Inoue won't get dropped in the first 4 rounds, and I think the class will tell over time because of the speed
Mm.
advantage. What do you think?
I like that. I think those are two excellent scenarios you just laid out there.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, if Nakatani were to win this fight, then this would be one of the all-time examples of styles really do make fights.
right.
Because Hernandez Reyes isn't in the same galaxy as Naoya Inoue overall.
No,
And
no.
Inoue would have handled someone like Hernandez, I think, in much more decisive fashion than Nakatani. He's a shorter fighter, more evened out frame throughout,
Yeah,
not a tall. So Hernandez Reyes got underneath Nakatani after taking his best early, and it wouldn't have been as hard for Inoue to handle him, shortening
right.
up his shots. Don't, yeah.
Supposedly, I don't want to cut you off, but supposedly, Inoue sent Hernandez Reyes home in sparring because he was running through guys at the Ohashi gym. So allegedly, I wasn't there, but that's what the reports say.
Not just that, but throughout all of Japan, you got a lot of people that talk to you through the translator, of course,
Of
on,
course,
on iPhone, but you got a lot of people that talk to you out there. So you hear things as well as the reports that you're acknowledging about that. And I definitely believe it because it's not as hard for Inoue to shorten up his shots than a tall guy with that wide base
yeah,
Nakatani fights with. But to that point, styles make fights, and Inoue is not some all-out pressure Mexican fighter.
no
He is a yeah. They're both boxer punchers or puncher boxers, depending on
puncher
how you look at it.
boxers.
But I
Yeah,
think I think Nakatani's more the puncher boxer, and Inoue's more the boxer puncher. But
yeah. Especially as Inoue gets up there in age, and deeper into his career, he's been boxing a lot more against. We've seen it against Picasso
yep.
and Merjan Akhmadaliev. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting because a lot of the reports, in a lot of the interviews he's been doing, he's been saying, "Look, I know I've been boxing against Picasso and Merjan, but I'm not coming here to box with Junto. I'm coming here to really make a statement and go through this guy." So that could either work for him or could work very much against him. But I think he understands the I think both guys understand how big this fight is for their country and for boxing history. And I think it's going to be, Sean, what you initially prompted up to be when we did our first video, but last year, which is the Leonard Hearns of Japanese
I was
boxing. I
getting
think,
there. I was getting there. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was getting there, and it's funny because I got a lot of pushback on that on Twitter and stuff. I think like, come on, you're gassing it up, right? Let me just start by saying I don't think Junto Nakatani is the caliber of Thomas Hearns.
Right.
who, even though guys like Iran Barkley got to him, and it's like, a pressure guy who took away some of his distance, like Hernandez Reyes against Nakatani. But here's the thing: heading into the first Leonard Hearns was a WBA welterweight champion. That was the
Yeah.
accomplishment to his name, right? Leonard was a two-time welterweight champion, WBC. For comparison's sake, heading into this fight, Inoue is a four division champion, two-time undisputed champion. Alongside Crawford and Usyk, the only guys to be two-time undisputed in the four belt era. Nakatani unified at 118. He became the unified lineal bantamweight champion, and he captured a WBO title twice in two weight class previous to that.
Correct.
So technically, even though even though I think Inoue is more Leonard quite than Naka, it's close enough. And the point is, relative to Japanese boxing, it's their Leonard Hearns, and they're actually bringing in more hardware to their name heading into they're older.
Yeah,
It
because they're deeper into
Nakatani's
their career. They're
yeah,
more
they're
advanced in their career.
right. Leonard and Hearns
Yeah.
were 23 and or 22 and 25 in age. Super fights don't happen at anymore, but they're in the prime of their careers. And Nakatani, like Hearns, is the younger, taller, devastating puncher from the absolute outside.
Correct.
And Leonard, like Inoue, is the superstar boxer puncher, athletic extraordinaire.
Faster hands,
Yeah,
superior
fast.
speed.
There you go. Although Hearns was fast as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, that I don't even. Yeah, but that there's a lot of comparisons there, and I stand by that comparison. When you were talking about how you don't that Inoue needs to be cautious in this fight to not get dropped early. And I'm at this is news to me that he's said otherwise because I think in the fights heading into this, like Picasso, he has been by his standards still throwing 5 and 6 punch combinations, but
Right.
by his standards, he has been a little bit more patient lately, and he'll need to be early in this fight. But I'm reading a book right now, and I mentioned it in Benavidez Zerto, Brennan. It's an incredible book, The Three Ring Circus about Kobe and Shaq, and
Okay.
that's like okay by Jeff Pearlman. And in the book, when the Pistons beat the Lakers, right, in '04 to end their dynasty,
Yeah. Ben
one
Wallace
thing
and all them.
one thing they did, they understood the temperament and the mentality of the maniacal Kobe Bryant, who, like Naoya Inoue, is a destroyer, is a guy who wants to take your heart. In a way, saying as much, you giving us news about that in the Japanese press. And what they did was they said, we're going to let Shaq score 30 or 35. Because we know at some point, Kobe, who wants to take over this team, who wants that first finals MVP, he's going to start jacking up shots that aren't really there.
Correct.
And it's
Yeah.
good. We're going to use his temperament against him. So
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is I'm picking Inoue to win the fight, and I'll talk about why in a minute. But I think one path to victory for Nakatani is taking advantage of Inoue's temperament against him. And Inoue, it's he will. I believe he will come out smart and be the boxer puncher. But at some point, Inoue in Japan's biggest fight is gonna want to be the monster. He's gonna want to be Inoue. He's gonna want to let off heavy artillery on Nakatani. And so I think Nakatani, he may even have to cede that you're not gonna. Nakatani, I don't think could beat him over 12 rounds. I think the way he beats Inoue is by knockout, and he
Okay.
has to be patient and make the most of his reach in this fight, disciplined, maybe even deal with losing some rounds in fighting that way, not shooting his load early. And at some point, when Inoue gets overzealous, because he does get overconfident and overzealous
Hmm.
with all his talent and athleticism, that's where you can catch him with the kind of left hand bomb that broke his orbital bone, like Donaire, like Neri, who dropped him,
Nary.
like
Yup.
Cardenas, who
Yup.
dropped him, all with the left hand. And this time, if Nakatani can detonate his best kind of left hand like those fighters have, it could get really hairy for Inoue. He could be hurt in a way those fighters even didn't hurt him.
No, I agree. I agree. He has to punch in between the shots of Inoue,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Inoue sometimes because he believes in his power so much, Sean. He leaves that chin in the air. The chin gets exposed, And I don't foresee a scenario where they fight in front of 55,000 plus at the Tokyo Dome, and he doesn't want to be the monster. Tokyo Dome. Listen, for those of you guys who have never been to the Tokyo Dome, it's a special place. The lights are special. Everything about the place is special. The history of the place for boxing and all sports is special. He said it. He said it in the Japanese press. He said, I can't lose to Junto Nakatani. It can't happen. I'm gonna go punch. I'm going to look for the knockout. So I don't. I would like to believe that he's evolved and these last couple of fights have taught him to use his boxing skills a bit more. But as you and I both know, Sean, especially when these Japanese fighters fight each other, they bite down a little bit harder than if they were fighting somebody else. And there's that real, that pride that comes with fighting your fellow countrymen. So I don't know, man. I think this fight it might not even get to the second half. It might end in 6 rounds.
Oof. I think that Inoue needs to have a healthy dose of knowing his own mortality.
I agree.
Because if you take away the fact that his chin is up and he's a little erect sometimes, right? And that he could be a little overzealous, he's almost a perfect fighter. I mean, he's an incredible fighter. Every time it's time to, all right, let's fire up the tape study. Hey, Sammy, my wife, for those
Yep.
watching, watch some boxing with me for a minute here so I could bounce some stream of consciousness off and hear myself talk.
And she
And
knows the fight game.
she does. And we're watching Nakatani and so impressed with his knockouts over Cuellar and Maloney.
Yeah,
And I'm showing her that first to be like, look, this guy has a chance, okay? And I'm showing her the moments Inoue gets caught trying to run off combinations and boom,
yeah,
left hand comes he doesn't anticipate, right? In between
yeah.
his shots. But then we look at the full throttle of what Inoue's capable of, and every time it's special. He's a special fighter. And if you were to weigh out on a scale their two talents and everything they're capable of, Inoue's going to come out on top of that, and that's why ultimately I'll pick him to win the fight. The hand speed, the foot speed, the reflexes, the punching power, the combinations. He's a beautiful fighter to watch, but if he doesn't if he doesn't have a healthy amount of respect for Nakatani, particularly early, and if he doesn't strategize and use his game plan, and he just tries to just be spectacular and get in his bag too soon, he could get knocked out in this fight.
I
But I
agree.
do think because of all those things he's capable, and he has a hell of a jab, and he's got the high guard and the shoulder roll. I think he will put it together to win this fight. And I'm actually thinking that first scenario you laid out of two, I think Inoue gets dropped at some point in this fight, but I think he could stop Nakatani. It's a lot of target area for him between that long, slender abdomen.
You brought it up.
Yeah,
I've always said with guys like Inoue, I don't feel like fighters with these long torsos could beat Inoue. He's too precise. He's too sharp. He's too quick. And if you are a guy with a long torso, you better be very good at keeping guys at the end of your punches in boxing, very disciplined,
which is what Nakatani
which
has to do.
which he has to do. And the fact that I know it's a different style, but the fact that our last vision of him is the Hernandez Reyes fight where he got in the pocket and was touching the body, and he's not as fast as Inoue and those kind of things. It leaves me very concerned for Nakatani. And to the first scenario, Sean, I actually do think that's going to play out myself. I think they're going to exchange knockdowns. I think they're both going to take each other to some dark places in this fight, and I think Inoue is going to get Nakatani out of there around say 7 or 8 rounds.
Ooh, that's a shootout, man.
It's
And
going to be
actually, Nakatani's last performance, for the time being, for me, it downgraded what was a summit meeting, Leonard Hearns of Japan,
that's
to
what I'm
a
saying.
coronation. And I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a coronation of Inoue's greatness, which ultimately I think it will be. But now that Fight Week got here, I go, no, it's still got some Leonard Hearns in it too.
And maybe maybe Nakatani needed to go through something like that to get him to be his best for this fight. When I can speak to this being someone that's been in a training camp recently and been getting his ass kicked all over the place. You know, you want to always come back better the next time out. You want to have that pride. So I feel like that's what we're going to see from Junto. He's got a great trainer, Rudy. I'm really intrigued about the
Yes.
trainer matchup. Shingo Inoue versus Rudy Hernandez, because Shingo Inoue, I think he just won Trainer of the Year, but I still think he is a little bit underrated as a trainer. because even though Inoue and Nakatani or Inoue and Takuma and Naoya, they're related. They're different fighters, and he's been able to work with those guys really really well. Make both of the guys have successful careers. Then you got Rudy, who has been developing Junto since he was a kid, and Junto has remnants of the Mexican style, but he's also still a Japanese fighter. So I'm really intrigued to see who makes the adjustments in the fight in the corner.
Yeah, I think Rudy Hernandez will have a good game plan dialed up. I suspect they're going to do some of what we're talking about for sure. Be disciplined with his length and make Inoue have to pass that invisible line. Make him
Yeah.
have to be, and take advantage of that
Make him
of the
have to
Japanese
reach and
fighter.
overcommit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep. Um, but yeah, I think I'm with you. Inoue wins this fight. This is I think this will go down along. This is the best 122-pound matchup since Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez.
Ooh,
And before that, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera. I think if this fight plays out to its potential, it joins those two matchups as the best in the new millennium that 122 pounds has ever seen.
that sounds about right. Yeah. Those like the premier fights for 122.
Yeah, and there's more a topic to be saved for next Monday or Sunday after the fight. We'll see if Inoue wins. We're not counting Nakatani out, but I just imagine, man, what kind of a rock star this kind of fight, if he can win it by stoppage, would turn him into. But that's a topic for there and
Can I
126
can
and
I
all
say
that.
I want
Yeah.
to I want to speak to that just a little bit before we move on. When I went to Japan in 2023 for the first time, I remember talking to a lot of people, and Inoue was popular. This before the CM Fulton fight. He was popular, but a lot of people still knew Tension as a cow more than Inoue back then.
Hmm.
Then, 2024 when I went back after Fulton, he was a little more popular. But when he fought Neri at the Tokyo Dome that first time, he was like really, really a rock star because nobody had fought the Tokyo Dome, I think, since Tyson. And now they're fighting at the Tokyo Dome again, and it's against a fellow undefeated Japanese, champion. So if he knocks him out, Sean, he's gonna go up about 2 or 3 levels in the rock star department.
Let me tell you who Inoue is, bro. He
Go
is
ahead.
he is he's kind of like my favorite character ever in Dragon Ball Z. He is Vegeta. Okay?
Okay.
Vegeta was proud, a little
Yep.
arrogant, proud. Nobody could fuck with him, right? And I got news for you. There is no Goku in boxing right now. So if there's no Goku, then nobody's beating Vegeta, okay? He is and actually just to get really nerdy, Vegeta kept calling himself the Prince of all Saiyans. He was actually the king. His dad was dead by like episode 1 of the series. So
Yeah.
like that would actually make you the king. So Inoue is the Vegeta sama of
Of
boxing.
of
He
boxing.
is the king of Japan, and he's got to prove that Saturday night. This is the final test to become Japan's ultimate champion in boxing history.
Inoue is about to deal with what Canelo would have had to deal with when he fought Dave Benavidez. Not this, like, you know what I mean, like the
Yeah,
passing of the torch to the
yeah,
next guy. So you got to give him credit for making the fight, because a lot of guys these days are not making these kind of fights, which is why the sport, especially in our country, is not in the greatest place.
yeah. We said this a year ago. We
I
didn't
know,
get
I know.
Canelo Benavidez. We didn't get Crawford Boots, but Inoue is taking on his equivalent to those guys. He's taking it on, and I'm really looking forward to it, man. I will be up at 4 a.m. So the
Me
pick is
too.
in a way.
In a way.